Welcome to Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod, Living the Dream, a show that celebrates ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Hear what motivated them to attain their goals, see which circumstances molded their character and turned them into everyday heroes. Learn more about this show and the hosts for Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod TV and radio on Facebook. Now here are your hosts, the Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod, Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas and Lori Boyle.
Welcome to Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod. Today we have a great show for you. We have two of the authors of Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions. This book has just come out this year, and our very own Kat Canavas, one of the Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod, as you know, has written a story for the book, and so has our very good friend Kelly Sullivan Walden, who also goes by Dr. Dream. She has also written a chapter in this book, and she was part of putting the anthology together, weren't you?
I was.
So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you, you
I'm so glad
wicked
to
women.
have you.
It's wonderful to be had by you.
It feels so strange to be interviewed on the show. It's just like a
That's
Twilight
right.
moment. Am I in the
Are you
right
feeling
place?
schizophrenic?
Yeah.
Yeah, now you get to be the
know,
guest.
Who's really here? Am I having a Sybil moment?
Shut up. No, you shut up.
So we thought we would start with some soup. We have our soup going. We're in the kitchen, and chicken soup for the soul
Yum,
kind of
yum.
goes together.
Smells delish.
So, Kelly, why don't you
Yes.
tell me how you guys got together to get into this book? How did this happen?
So let me go way, way, way back in time, back to the beginning. I met Mark Victor Hansen, who was one of the, so Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield were the original authors and creators of the Chicken Soup for the Soul brand. I met Mark Victor Hansen years ago after my Goddess Queen book came out, and I was in the midst of writing a book on dreams, and I wasn't Dr. Dream yet. I was just, it was my first book on dreams, and I had dreams on my mind, and I went up to him and I said, hey, you should do a chicken soup for the dreamer's soul. And he said, no, we've talked about that, but not enough people dream. It's not really, it's a little bit too elusive for us. And I was like, oh, feeling totally rejected, but he ended up giving me an endorsement for my Goddess Queen book, which was great.
Nice.
He said, turn your drama into phenomena with Kelly's book. So thank you, Mark Victor Hansen. Love you, even though you were wrong way back then about the dream thing not being hot. So anyway, that was the seed that was planted years and years ago. So cut to about 10, 12 years later, and I'm on Twitter. I'm getting better at Twitter, but I'm not great at checking my Twitter, my tweet messages. But I have a friend and assistant, Megan. Hi, Megan. She was checking my messages one day, and she said, Kelly, there's a great message that you should really check out. It looks like there's going to be a Chicken Soup for the Soul book on dreams. You should submit a story. I was like, oh, it's about time. Okay, so I submit a story, send it in. And I thank Julie Isaac for being the one. She's known as the Twitter queen, by the way, for reaching out to me. And I thank her for sending me that message. And she says, you know, Kelly, you should reach out to Amy Newmark. She's the new publisher and author of all the Chicken Soup books now. She's done about 250 books. You should friend her. You should follow her on Twitter. So I do. And then immediately after I friend her or follow her, she starts following me. So I'm texting Julie. I'm like, Julie, Amy Newmark is following me. She's like, what? Oh my God, you should like send her a personal message. I'm like, good idea. So I start sending her a personal message, and before I could finish that message, I get a message directly from Amy to me saying, I just checked out your website. It looks like you're a dream expert. We should talk. I'm like, Julie, Amy Newmark and I are gonna talk. And so it was back and forth. So I have a conversation with Amy Newmark that lasts about an hour and a half. We have this, it's a wonderful, deep conversation all about the possibilities of what we could do with this. And by the end of that conversation, she said, I rarely do this. I'm much more methodical with my choices about who authors these books, but I really think that you're going to partner with me on this book. Would you do it? And I said, sign me up. You had me at hello. Absolutely. And I told her that, you know, in addition to my own dreams that have been impactful to me in my life, I consider myself a connoisseur, an aggregator of sorts of people that have incredible dreams. And I had met Kathleen O'Keefe Canavas, AKA Kat kitty cat. I met her a few years before, and I was so struck by her story that I always kept it in the back of my head, like, we need to do something together one of these days. And then there was a number of other people, probably about 30, 50 different people that I knew that had striking stories about their dreams and how they changed their life. So Amy said, go ahead and invite them to submit stories, along with 5,000 other people that submitted their stories. And before I know it, the book came out, and we had to choose from 5,000 submissions approximately.
Wow.
And they were, all of them were good. All of them were, many of them were just great. So it was very difficult, but we had to hone it down to the 101 best stories.
Wow.
And of course, Kat's story made it into the book,
Absolutely.
Surviving Cancerland,
Yeah.
and the book became a bestseller when it launched on Amazon, and it's got a life of its own. And now we've got another book coming out at some point, Dreams and Synchronicities. People can submit their stories on chickensoup.com if they're interested in wanting to be in the next anthology.
Okay. Now, how do you choose the stories? What criteria do you use? How do you say this one, if they're
so
so
hard.
good,
It's really hard.
how do you split that up?
Well, there's a very, for people who know Chicken Soup stories have a very specific energy to them. I mean, my litmus test is that they have to make me cry. So, I mean, a good Chicken Soup story is really human. It doesn't give you any tips. We were talking about this the other day, that it's not, the Chicken Soup stories,
tips.
They don't tell you what to do. They just tell you a story about an ordinary person with an ordinary life that has an extraordinary something happen to them, and they use that, and they have a result that they show for it. So it has to be really touching. It has to hit that emotional chord, because that is the Chicken Soup for the soul. When you hear that story, and you get the goosies and you get the tears, it's like, that's the story. So that was kind of the litmus test for me.
So, Kat, tell us a little bit about your story. I mean, we all know you have Surviving Cancerland, Intuitive Aspects of Healing, but what did you put into this story to make Kelly cry and give her the goosebumps?
Well, like Kelly was saying, and it fits right in with our radio show and our TV show, because we do ordinary people with extraordinary stories. So when I submitted my story to Chicken Soup for the Soul, I used the story of the spirit guide coming into my dream as the pop-up, where I talk about how I'm dreaming my epic dream, and all of a sudden there's a huge pop-up in my dream, like a pop-up a window on your computer, impossible to get rid of. And when that happens on your computer, everything behind that window freezes, because in your dreams, when you get a pop-up window, because you're getting a spirit guide, a guardian angel, a passed over loved one coming in to give you information, you're on the time continuum that Einstein talked about, and time stands still. There is no past, there is no future, there's only the big now. And so this pop-up turns into a door, and my spirit guide steps in there, and he is dressed as a Franciscan monk. Why? Don't know. We've been trying to figure that one out for a long time. I don't know of any Franciscan monks that have ever been in my family, because don't they take a vow of chastity?
Of celibacy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So where am I going to come from unless somebody put their vows on the side for a couple of hours or something way back when.
Right.
But I have these Franciscan monks as my spirit guides, and this Franciscan monk not only came in like 3 different times and told me I had breast cancer, and actually took my hand, put it on my breast, and said, go back to your doctor. Like the second time, go back, don't take no for an answer, and you need a different set of tests to find this breast cancer. The third time he came into my dreams, I started crying when I saw him, just crying.
Not you again.
Yeah, and what do you want me to do? They aren't listening to me. They're giving me the same mammograms, blood tests, physicals, and it's not showing anything. What do you want me to do? If you want me to live, help me. And my spirit guide took out a little feather, handed it to me, and said, this is an angel feather. Use it as though it's a sword to verbally fence against your doctor tomorrow. Go back without an appointment. And insist, don't take no for an answer, and don't be dismissed. And so I did, and when I saw my doctor, I said I need exploratory surgery because that's what my spirit guide had told me. You need exploratory surgery. So I have to go to my doctor tomorrow, who thinks I'm already a pain in the butt, and tell him I now want him to do exploratory surgery. And the question is, do I tell him about the dream or not? And I decided not, because I wanted help, not a padded cell. And so it turns out that I get the exploratory surgery when I use that feather in my mind to verbally fence with him, and I'm in stage 2 aggressive breast cancer with it in a lymph node. And that's the first time that I had the breast cancer, and I end up having it 3 times. And each time the guides come in and say, go back, don't take no for an answer, go back, you've got it back.
Well, I can see you going back for the second time and the third time after you had cancer the first time, but how many people would consider their dream so strong that they could go up against a doctor that's telling you you're fine?
Right.
Well, that's in the book. Actually, we've got Deb. Deb did the same thing.
Yes.
She had brain cancer.
Right. Yeah.
Really?
This is one of the stories called "Into the Panther's Cage," and so there are a number of people that have that their dream helped save their life. In her dream, her ex-husband passed away, and on the anniversary of his death, she has a dream that she's walking down the beach in his shoes, and then she goes to Target somehow, and she's told, what is she told? She's told that it's not going to be her time, but it's time for her. That I don't know. That it's not her time. But when she wakes up in the morning, she goes, "Wait a minute, I was walking in his shoes. What does that mean?" And she has this horrible migraine headache, and she'd never had migraines before. And he died of brain cancer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I get the chills on that. So when the migraine continued and she went and got tests and they said, we need to operate, she knew she wasn't going to fight and try to get a second opinion. She knew that they were right, that there was something really wrong with her, and her ex-husband was coming to give her an early warning. In fact, that's the name of the chapter that Kat's book is in, and also Deb's book is in. So later she gets a what did she say it was, some kind of a fruit sized,
it was
apricot,
an apricot
sized tumor
tumor
removed from her head.
in her head, on her brain.
And she knew that if she hadn't heard from her ex-husband in her dream, that she would have said, no, let's do alternative routes, let's get second opinions, which is fine and good, but she knew, no, I don't want to walk in his shoes, and I was walking in his shoes, oh my God.
Yeah,
but then later she has, when she's healing and all of that, she has a dream that there's a panther in a cage, and it's terrifying to her, and she's trying to get the panther out so it will run free and it won't get out, and she gets some intuitive guidance that the only way that it's going to get out and get free is if she goes into the panther's cage with it.
And joins it.
And they end up cuddling, and the panther becomes like her mother and wraps its arms around her, and she feels this tremendous power and this tremendous love. And then the panther says, fine, I'll leave. And it proceeds, and then the dream opens up into, instead of this kind of scary terrain, this verdant valley. And she knows that she's healed at that point. So in some way, to me, if it were my dream, the panther represents the cancer, in a sense, or the tumor. And the fact that it was gone because she loved it, instead of pushing against it and fighting it, she wrapped her arms around it and became empowered by it. And then it was gone. And she's had 34 months complete, like with no regrowth. She's doing really well. She's
good.
She said she's got a little bit of fatigue. She's not quite as energetic as she was before, but she's doing so good. And she's alive.
Wow,
Well,
that's
she had
incredible.
chemo and radiation though, and with me, I had chemo and radiation. I had chemo twice, radiation twice. And what's interesting is, what I found really interesting, and I don't think I put it in this book, was each time the spirit guides would come into my dreams, they would say, go back to your doctors. They didn't say, go find Swami Wami Ramalama Ding Dong. Because I'd have done it, Kelly. I'd have been looking for him, you know. Give me the phone book, give me Google. Where's Swami Wami?
Swami Wami.
And there was none. They had complete faith in my doctors, even though my doctors were missing this. They knew that once the doctors figured it out, the treatment would be the right treatment. And so the other thing was, throughout my treatment, when the doctors would give me a choice, my spirit guides, my little monks, would come into my dreams and say, no, don't choose that, choose this. And the doctors would say, why are you choosing this? And I'd say, well, it's just my choice, you know, because my
Blame it on the monks.
Told me to. Oh, somebody please give her some new meds.
Right. It's incredible.
But what would you say to people who say, I don't remember my dreams? I don't dream. I don't even, think about that part of my life.
Too bad for you. You're missing out. You're missing out. Not you. Oh, you. Or you. Or you. Sorry. No. I would say just start going out of your way to pay attention to them. Your dreams are your ally, and they are so easy to miss because they take place in the region of the brain where our short-term memory is. And if we don't go out of our way to wrangle them and do something with them, more often than not, they will be gone. They'll be dust in the wind. But we all dream, and it's been proven. Harvard here in Harvard,
yeah.
There's been so much dream research, but they say we all dream between 3 to 9 dreams every night. And unless you're psychotic, you're dreaming. And there are some people that have certain brain injuries and their dreams are suppressed. So that's like 1% of the population. So unless you're in that 1%, you're dreaming. And so some people say, I don't dream. And I say, no, if you're at all sane, that means that you're dreaming. The issue isn't about whether or not you're dreaming. The issue is whether or not you are remembering your dreams. And you have to oftentimes go out of your way to remember them. It's easy to wake up in the morning and go straight to Facebook, go straight to the newspaper, go straight to CNN, and as soon as you do, poof, you've lost it. You've missed your dream, and it could be the dream that would save your life or make you millions of dollars. We've got a story in the book, Bob Haas, that says even corporate executives have dreams too that will change their lives. And in his dream, he dreams about a career change, and it's very detailed, but basically he's adamant he's gonna go down with the ship. He's not gonna leave. He's a stick with it kind of a guy, and his company is kind of going down. He keeps getting job offers to other places, but he's like, nope, I have a great package. No matter what, I'm gonna go down with this ship. And in his dream, he's actually on a ship, and it's going down. And it's icy. It's kind of, think Titanic and iceberg. And he's like, nope, I'm going on. And he's trying to find a position to hold on to while the ship is going down. And he hears this voice, it's okay to go through that door. And he's like, what door? There's no door. I see no door. And all of a sudden, he sees a door, because it's a dream, and that it happens like that. So there's a door. He says, okay, I'm kind of scared to go out that door, but he goes out the door, and as soon as he opens the door, yet again, just like in the Panther's Cage dream, there's this verdant valley, and it's green and lush and flowers, and he walks out, and it's way better than what it was like on that ship that was going down. And he's like, wow, it really was okay to walk out that door. He gets to work the next day. Oh, on his way to work, he's listening to the radio, and he hears the song Callin' All Angels by Train, and he hears particularly the line that says, I need a sign to help me through this. And it's something about, I don't know which way to go, or I don't know what to do. And he starts crying, and he's like, I know this is a sign, this is an affirmation about that dream that I had. Goosies. See what I mean? And then he gets to work, and he gets and yet again a job offer. This time it's by IBM, and they say, we're not taking no for an answer. And he says, okay, I'm not going to fight you. He goes and gets an even better package, an even better deal with IBM, becomes an executive with them, and it never looks back, and it was way better than had he just gone down with this ship. So your dreams can change your life in so many ways, but you have to go out of your way more often than not, unless it's a persistent monk. That's the exception.
Well, even if you don't remember your dreams, I mean, sometimes I wouldn't remember my dreams, especially when I was on chemo, because I would be so saturated with drugs
Right.
But what would happen is I would have snippets of my dreams during the day as daydreams, and they would trigger something that I remembered that I dreamt. So your daydreams can
Right.
be part of your night dreams when you don't remember them. And a lot of people who are on medication, I know that you know, I've spoken to quite a few people on a lot of medication to help them sleep. They don't remember their dreams because they go so deep. And then they come
Right.
up so fast that they don't go through the steps to remember. But
Yeah.
during the day, they'll have daydreams. Something will
Right.
happen to shake that dream in their mind, and they'll go, oh, you know what? I remembered.
Yeah.
I remember. I dreamt about a woman in a blue dress and a big pink ribbon. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll be in the shower or driving, something that puts us in the alpha state, and all of a sudden a dream will kind of pop in that way, and that's awesome. And I always tell people, but don't count on it, because you can't guarantee. Like, you could have that epic dream, and you could just leave it on the pillow because you weren't paying attention. So sometimes you do get a freebie where it will come back around, but don't count on that. Do your part to just build that little muscle to spend 5 minutes upon awakening writing down your dream. Or like Walter Berry in the book does, he draws his dreams, and so does Patricia Garfield in The Dream.
So if you get these skeptics who say, okay, I can spend 5 minutes and I can write down my dream after
Yeah.
I wake up, what do I do with it? What if I don't understand it? It's just
Well, this kind of segues into my story, because I went out of my way. I had a client that was coming to see me to deal with the death of her son, and I felt overwhelmed, and I knew I needed help. I needed a sign. Call in all angels. And I had a dream that night, and all I got was the word mosaic, and I'm like, come on, I'm Dr. Dream, and I don't know what to do with this word. This word mosaic means nothing to me. It doesn't do anything. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? But I wrote it down. So that's all. Sometimes that's all we're supposed to do, is just at least acknowledge it exists, put it somewhere in the three-dimensional world, and then if you want to, let go of it, but keep it in the back of your mind. So I have my session with my client, and it's very teary and emotional, and she's talking all about, I'm mostly holding space for her to just feel and talk, and thinking, I don't know what to say to her, because I'm out of my depth, but I can at least hold the space for her to move through it. And at the end of our session, she shares about how the funeral was just a couple days before, and that she's sitting in the room with all the flowers and all the cards and gifts that were given to her, and she said, the most precious gift that I received, there were so many people that loved Brian, the young man that died. She said, but the most precious gift that I received was this mosaic that his best friend put together. It's a compilation of hundreds of pictures of Brian throughout his life, pixelated into this mosaic that I've been looking at this whole time that we've been talking. And I'm like, what did you say? Mosaic? And I said, I dreamt last night, the only dream I had was about the word mosaic. And she was like, she gasped. And in the space of us sharing that, it was like there was this knowing that it was a sign from Brian that he had survived death, that he's
okay,
that he was okay. It was a sign. And that mosaic metaphor has been something that they've worked with. And even today, I was telling Kat, I flew out here on JetBlue, and they sent me something that said mosaic rewards. I'm like, or keep track of your mosaics. I'm like, what? Oh my God, following me! Right. Oh, because and later in that story, in my story, that same day after I had that big mosaic moment with Margarita, my client, I get a call from my mother. And she's telling me that she and my father want to move to downtown Los Angeles now that they're getting older. I'm like, you guys should be in a retirement villa, not like downtown, bustling, hustling city. You're terrifying me. Oh my God. And I'm trying every way I can to talk them out of moving to downtown. And she said, well, we saw this building. We really liked it. It's called the Mosaic. I'm like, thud.
There it is again.
Thud. Okay. Fine, I think you're supposed to move there. She's like, why would you, what? And so I became their biggest cheerleader for them to move to this place, and it ended up being so good for them. So what do you do if you get a dream that you don't understand? You at least just sit with it. You just at least be curious. We so want to be smart and have it all figured out, and if we see something that makes no sense to us, in order for our egos to feel good about ourselves, we just let go of it, like, oh, that meant nothing, so we don't have to feel silly and stupid. But really, if we just at least sit with it, at some point it will make sense. It might not be the next day, it might be a few days later, but often it does. Don't you find that,
Oh,
Kat?
absolutely. I had one dream where, this was when I was going through the cancer the first time, and I walk into a room, a waiting room, and there are a lot of people in there that I've seen before in my dreams, and I suddenly realize they're my inner selves. And I'm like, we're all in this room? What are we doing in here? And all of a sudden a door opens. A doctor walks in and she reaches out her hand and she goes, hi, my name is Dr. Jules. I'm your physician within. And I'm like, what? All of a sudden 3 crabs run out from nowhere. They start scurrying across the floor. They're headed for the door to go into the basement. And Dr. Jewel goes, you go catch those. And I'm thinking, if they reach that door to the basement and they get down there where all those tunnels are and it's dark, I'll never catch them. I won't be able to catch them, and they'll breed and they'll be everywhere. I remember thinking to myself, this is turning into a nightmare.
Wow.
And so I'm chasing after these crabs and I'm going, they're getting away. They're down on the first landing already. And I scream, stop. And they froze. And all of a sudden there was a container in my hand. And I reached down and I scooped these 3 crabs up, and there's water in the container, and they pulled in their pinchers and their legs, and they turned into 3 beautiful pearls. And I looked down at them and I said, 3 pearls, 3 crabs. I've only got 1 cancer. By the end of the 5th year, I'd had cancer 3 times.
And you'd scooped them all up.
And I'd scooped them all up. And they became pearls of wisdom that are now in my books.
Oh my God.
And that it took 5 years for that dream to come true on the time continuum.
But at the time, you didn't
At the
know
time,
that.
it made no sense.
Right.
I had to go back into my journal and go, the 3rd time there was the cancer, I said, you know what? I had a dream about that 5 years ago. And I went back into my dream journals and I found it. If you don't have a dream journal, how can you know if you had a dream about it? How do you know if there's validation in the waking world?
That's kind of like Patricia Garfield's dream that she has about the branching woman in there. And can I tell you this story?
Yeah,
real quick?
sure.
So Patricia Garfield, she is one of the foremost experts on dreams, and she's been around for a while, and she's one of my role models. Anyway, she has a dream. She's an academic, and she's dreaming that she's at an academic conference and they're eating, not chicken soup, but who knows what they were eating. But they're all talking about leaving dreams, dreams that have leaves in them, and what that symbolizes. And she stands up and she says, I think leaving dreams are fine and good, but I'm really more interested in branching dreams. And nobody notices her, nobody even pays attention to her, except her husband says, good for you, sweetheart. And she says in the dream, you know, I've had lots of branching woman dreams. And she wakes up from that dream and she says, wait a minute, I haven't had a bunch of branching women dreams, or have I? And she goes and she starts looking in her dream journals and she finds that she has in fact had lots of branching dreams. And in fact, branching woman dreams, a woman with branches coming out of her head. And she took that as a sign that she needed to branch out beyond academia and find a way for her book to reach more of a mainstream audience. She'd been kind of caught in, it was too academic for mainstream and too mainstream for academia, but she realized she needed to make a choice and make it something that would appeal to the masses. And she called it creative dreaming. It became one of the foremost books on dreams and New York Times best-selling book, and it changed her whole life.
Wow.
And anyway. And that was because she journaled her dreams and drew them down.
And could go back and look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not only are you just supposed to write them down, but you got to keep it.
You got to keep it.
Okay.
Somewhere, and maybe somewhere where not everybody has access to them.
Yeah.
For your eyes only.
Some people might look at those dreams and go, padded cell, here you come. Yeah, especially Debbie Weissman's dream. about the codpiece, the curious riddle of the codpiece?
Oh yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's one dream where she didn't know what the heck to do with it. She just had a dream about a codpiece. She's like, what? What's a codpiece? She had to look it up. Finds out it's from the medieval days, meant to
Henry
cover up.
VIII had a really big one. It was padded.
Meant to cover up like male genitalia. And she's like, why am I dreaming about a codpiece? And she goes, okay, if this is symbolic, then it's something protective and it covers up something vital, something virile, something that's life-giving. And she says, how does this relate to my life? And she goes, oh, wait a minute, I've covered myself up. She was really shy, really shut down, and her life force had been seriously suppressed. She had written 20 best-selling books in the Sweet Valley High series years before and hadn't written anything in a long, long, long time. And in working with this dream, she started to come out of her shell. And then a month or two later, she had another dream that was just one word, and it was almond. And she realized an almond is kind of like a codpiece because it's a shell that covers up something that's softer and nutritious on the inside. She realized that she was making progress. Oh. It's not as tough as the shell. And now, cut to now, she's written a book called 101 Dream Dates, How to Say I Love You to the Most Important Person in Your Life, You. And she wrote a book that has the word, it's got the V word in it, so I don't know if I can say it here.
You can she'll take it out if you can.
So talk about self-expressed. She wrote a book called It Came Out of My Vagina, Now What?
A different type of vagina monologue.
It's not a book that a suppressed woman writes. So her dream really worked on her, even though she had no idea what to do with it. And that story, The Curious Riddle of the Codpiece, is in Chicken Soup for the Soul.
That's interesting.
Dreams and Premonitions.
You know, public access television is all about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. So you can say whatever you want to say here.
The V word?
That's
okay.
right.
You can say that.
You can say it.
We can do that.
Or we can symbolize
We've got a lot of freedom here.
Well, there's a lot of stories in this book, a lot of really important stories.
101.
Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions. Dreams can change your life. Dreams can save your life. And they can point you in the right direction. So here's the book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions, 101 amazing stories, including theirs. So thank you, ladies. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, you wicked housewives. I've enjoyed you. This has been
It was wicked awesome to have you.
Oh, thank you. I think I'm going to have a little of this chicken soup. It might be a little cold right now, but
it's okay.
Wait, this is Cape Cod chicken soup,
right?
It
is. It's clams because our clams are chicken of the sea.
It's yum. Yum, yum, yum. Okay, excuse me while I eat.
Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you come back again to see more Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod. I'm so used to wrapping up the show that I forgot Lori's actually doing it.
You be quiet. Let her do it.
Thank you so much for being with us. We are so happy that you tuned in. We hope you learned a little something about dreams, and maybe you could pay attention to your own. Something good might happen. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Sweet dreams.
Thank you for joining Lori Boyle and Kathleen Cat O'Keefe Canvas on Wicked Housewives on Cape Cod. Don't forget to like us on Facebook for our show updates, and join us next time when we showcase more everyday heroes.